Arr, matey, there be pirates in me sewing room.
All right, that's a bit of a silly intro, but I have a theory that I can turn this cheap pirate hat into a beautiful 18th century tricorn hat to wear with my latest 18th century costume. Can we do it? Let's see. Hi, it's Colleen and welcome back to my sewing channel. I recently made an 18th century jacket and petticoat, and my most recent video shows you how I made that. But this video is going to show you whether or not I can transform this hat into something suitable for the 18th century. You do see paintings of women wearing these tricorn hats, very, typical colonial looking hat, but they don't look like pirate hats. They're decorated with feathers, they're decorated with ribbons and cockades and things like that. I think I can take this cheap looking costume hat and turn it into one of those with not too much work. One thing that's in the favor of this particular hat is it's made from a felted material. That means I can shape it, cut it, steam it, sew on it, that kind of thing. I couldn't do that if it were made from plastic or like that plastic foam material. You can see it has this really tacky gold braid on there. It is glued on there and it's already coming off. I can stick my finger right through here. So my plan for this hat is to start by removing this, and then I'm going to look at putting a different kind of trim around the edge here. Then I need to cover up these snaps. They are not historically accurate. They wouldn't have had snaps on the hats back then. So I'm going to make a cockade or a little ribbon rosette to cover this up here. And then I've got some feathers that I can put in here to really dress it up. Then I'll of course take off this drawstring because I don't need it for this costume. I will figure out how to pin it into my hair, or it might be big enough to just sit on top and stay pretty well. So that's the project for today. I don't think it'll take more than a couple of hours, and we'll see what it looks like at the end. All right, I just dug through my stash to see what kinds of materials I have available, and here's what I found. I have this pleated grosgrain trim that I used on my 18th century cassoquin. So I'm going to remove the gold trim and replace it with this, which automatically elevates the look just a bit. And it's really typical of what you would have seen at the time. There was usually some kind of pleated or, interesting trim along the top of the hat brim. And this is what I'm going to choose to use. I do want to keep this hat neutral enough that if I want to change it for another costume, it won't take me that much effort to do. Okay, so that's the trim on the brim sorted out. Then I have this length of grosgrain ribbon in black. It's, let me see, it's 2 inches wide. And it's just polyester. It's cheap stuff, but it should work just fine to pleat up a little cockade or rosette. I have enough to do 3 of them, which is what I need to cover those 3 snaps. I also have this gray ribbon, and I think I'm going to make a cockade out of this as well, and I can tack it to the bigger one, and that way if I want to change out the color of the gray or even the black, I can just snip the threads, set it aside, and use something else on the hat, and then when I want to wear it with this costume again, it's really easy to just swap it back. And then the final thing is, usually there was some kind of a little button or a disc of, some kind of material, something to cover the center where all of those pleats come together. I have these 3 rhinestone buttons, and they are old, they are missing some rhinestones. They're not great, but I think they look the closest to what an 18th century, paste would have looked. And there is evidence of people putting sort of blingy bits on their hats. So I'm going to use this as like the center rosette. And again, they're not in great shape, but that's perfect for a hat, especially a costume hat that we're transforming into something for the 18th century. We've already departed from historical accuracy. We're just going for the look and feel. So this is what I'm going to use to put in the center of the cockade, and I think that'll look really nice. And then I do have this packet of peacock feathers in burgundy, which will go with the shoes that I have to wear for this costume. So you've seen in my other videos, I have a pair of burgundy and black 18th century-ish historical shoes. I have not invested in the American Duchess shoes or one of the, official historical reproduction shoes. I haven't done that yet, but I did find a pair that's close enough, and I'm going to wear it with this costume, but they are burgundy and black, and this will bring in some of that color to the top of the hat. There's a bunch of them in here, and they just need a little fluffing, but they're pretty good. Not too big, but enough to make a statement by sort of setting them down in there and tacking them into place. I am going to use these things that are already in my stash, and I think that's a Really great way to make a budget hat. Let's see where we get to next. Already it looks better just having the trim and the glue taken off. You can see that the snaps come down and it's not shaped very well. It got a little crushed in transit. So I'm going to go ahead and take this over to the ironing board and see if I can't steam some of those wrinkles out. Steaming it made a huge difference, and boy, it already just looks a lot better than it did when I took it out of the package. So I'm going to go ahead now and clip this onto my hat. I want to put the seam somewhere where it won't be noticeable. And as best I can tell, this is the front. It's a bit of a wider point here than these two back ones. So I'm going to have this be the front and this be the back. I'm going to stitch this on by hand. I probably could do it by machine, but I think it'll be just as easy to do it by hand. And then you don't have any machine, stitching visible. These little clips are great. I don't use them for everything, but they are great for, circumstances like this, where you just need to hold something in place on an odd shape or very thick material where pins wouldn't work as well. I am pleasantly surprised at how nicely this steamed out. It's definitely a synthetic material, like it stinks like chemicals when you heat it up, but it responded well. And obviously they've shaped it using heat to begin with to get this crown in here. I don't have a hat form or like a wig head or anything like that to put it on. So you saw I used my ham to help with those curves. But I just steamed it. I didn't even touch it with the iron most of the time. I just steamed it until it was moist and held it in place until it cooled off. And it seems to be holding its shape quite nicely. Okay, so we're back to the beginning. And I'm going to just trim and overlap and I'll figure it out. I'm going to do all of my hand sewing at once, but I'm going to go ahead and prep my materials for the cockades. So this is all I have of this grosgrain ribbon. And I want 3 rosettes out of it. We've got basically 43 inches divided by 3 is 14 inches a piece, and we'll have some left over. Let's see what we need for this one. I don't think I need them to be super tight pleats, like really tiny pleats. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it this way, and I can always err on the side of caution and cut a little extra and trim it off later. You can see how easy it is to form that though, and I'll show the process in detail. So we're going to say about this long is enough for one. Let's see. 13.5 inches is what we need on this one. So I'm going to cut 2 more at 13.5. And then I have my 3 buttons. So I am going to go and sit down and work on these. Basically you go from behind through, take a little bit of a back stitch, and then come back. Yeah, this is going to go pretty quickly. The fabric's easy to pierce, and yeah, I'm all right with this. Okay, so you can see how that's going to look, and it's held on pretty securely that way. When it comes to making the rosettes, you basically fold over to create the width of the pleat that you'd like, and you pin it, and then you make the next pleat and pin it, and you're going to end up with a whole bunch of pins in there, but that's going to help you sew it later on. So you keep going more or less, make it as even as you want it to be. It can be loosey-goosey or super crisp and pleated. I'm going for more of a loosey-goosey look here. I've never done this before, so this is an experiment for me, and you get to watch. So let's see, am I doing it right? I think so. I imagine by the 3rd one I will have figured it out. It's kind of a semicircle, and then once you finish it, that's where you put the button on. It hides all of this right here. That will sit right here on the edge of the hat and cover up that snap that I don't want to show. You can put tails on here. You can do multiple layers, 2, 3, 4 layers, whatever. It's kind of whatever you want. You can have pointed pleats. You can have these sort of free-form softer pleats. Once I get this sewn, I can press it if I wanted to have it be really crisp. We'll see what it looks like when all of the pins are taken out. I like it though. I like that. I'm thrilled to say that this worked even better than I expected. So here are my pieces, and they are separate at the moment. I will attach them together when I put them on the hat. This little rosette was made by doing a running stitch along the long edge of the ribbon, just one edge, and pulling it tight. You can see it gathers up really nicely in this grosgrain ribbon. The effect is really great, and so I'm happy with the way that looks. I got better at it as I went. I'm gonna take the one I like the least and put it in the back. And I have these buttons, as I mentioned before. The one that is missing a couple of rhinestones is going to go right there in the middle. And then I'll use the other ones that are in better shape on the more visible parts of the hat. So I'm going to stitch these in, and I'll come back with the finished hat. That's how you can make an 18th century hat out of a pirate hat. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you like it, and I'll see you next time.